Hello everyone, welcome to Doct Hub. I am Dr. Sandeep Patel, and in our special series of 20 roles as a hospital leader, today we will discuss role 3, strategist as a hospital leader. What does strategist mean in a hospital management? We'll discuss on strategy versus planning, what quality you need to be. Two case studies will discuss on multi-speciality hospital for the what is the strategy aspect in that, and if you are executing a specialty center, what could be the steps and things we need to taken care, and what is the institutional strategy you should consider while strategizing a particular hospital. We'll discuss. Let's see. Strategy versus planning. So strategy means the method to achieve long-term goal, and while the planning is a part of particular strategy, you are planning particular task and projects as a planning. But strategy is different. Strategy, while you are making a strategy for a long-term goal, strategy specific to a hospital project, you need to have a brainstorming. What is your aim for a particular project? You need to define in that. And every strategy has a different phases. And in this particular phase, you plan different tasks. So both are different things. In a strategy, you will have a different phases of your project, and particular phase will have a plan of different tasks. And for example, the launching strategy of a multi-speciality hospital, it is a different things to consider, and planning of different task for particular multi-speciality hospital project. As in our previous videos of 20 roles as a hospital leader, you can watch our previous videos if you are new into the series. So let's discuss what quality you need to be as a strategist. So strategist has a clarity in his vision. Strategists have a clear measurable goals. So you need to define clear and measurable goal of your particular project. Ability to identify scope in your services, expansion and improvement. You need to think in this particular aspect while you are strategizing your project. Ability to take responsibility of repercussions. So any hospital project, while you are strategizing your things, you need to be taken care of different end time moment repercussions, crises, or certain things, challenges while executing this project. So be prepared for such kind of surprises in your projects, and if you are your strategy is well defined and well prepared document, it will be helpful to execute it very well. And as a strategist, you should be optimistic on future trends and opportunities. It is a very important aspect, because while you are strategizing your hospital project, you are starting it, you are defining your goals, different scope of services and the service departments, etc. Your resources to be aligned in that strategy. You need to be considered the recent trends, future aspects and opportunities, because if you do not consider it, and few years down the line, in that particular recent advancement, if you want to include in your hospital, that will be a very limitation, because while planning your strategy for that project, if you have not considered that particular trend, the future trends in terms of technology, in terms of departmental expansion, such things you need to be very clear in your strategy. Now let's see the case study 1, where if you want to make a strategy for your multi-speciality hospital, so you need to define the multi-speciality hospital vision, where which services you want to come up with. Identify your scope. Scope means how many number of beds, the clinical services, what you want to plan, and other infrastructure accordingly. So in a multi-speciality hospital, if you plan super specialty surgical services, then your infrastructure will need super specialty operation theater, other supportive medical equipments. So as per your scope, the rest of the things will be defined accordingly. Your strategy should include the location aspect also. The location strategy is very crucial, in which location you want to come up with the multi-speciality hospital, because it should be accessible, it should have enough space, the land area where you are getting it, the cost of that land in that particular location, in the particular city, what is the trend of among the public, among the patients, what is the accessible areas that you need to consider. And another aspect you need to think of is whether you are planning for a greenfield project or a brownfield project. Greenfield means from you are starting the project from land to building infrastructure, the construction at your own with the complete infrastructure, starting from the scratch you are planning to. Or brownfield is you are acquiring existing hospital, upgrading it with a technology, renovating it from the infrastructure and equipment and the interior and exterior renovation you do, and you come up with the new version of that particular hospital. So both the project will have a different strategy, obviously. And so if we talk about the greenfield project, you can go with different phases in your strategy. Like you can plan, first phase could be OPD, and in your OPD, if the doctors, if your experts are more of a surgical background, if they are surgeons, then you will, in your first phase, you will need operation theater and few of the indoor patient area you need to include in your phase 1. If in your phase 1 of hospital project, the medical specialists are there who need a ICU backup, then your focus in a phase 1 should be ICU and indoor medical beds should be there. And yes, you need to decide that in a phase 1 you can choose in-house pathology and you can outsource pathological work for the time being in a phase 1. If you want to match different deadlines, and you can start with, at least operationally you want to come up with quickly, then you can outsource your pathology and radiology diagnostics. That you need to include in your strategy document. And your phase 2 strategy can be a surgical and OT surgical specialists to include in a phase 2, and operation theater and the related diagnostics and support they need, that you can plan, can include in a phase 2 also. But it depends as per your financial condition, as per your deadlines, by what date you, by what time you want to operationalize it. So all these phases strategies will be depend on this particular situation. Now case 2, if you are strategizing a specialty center, so which specialty you will need to go for it, and what is the subspecialty in that particular specialty. Like if you are planning a dedicated orthopedic hospital, you need to visualize, you need to strategically include different subspecialty of orthopedics, like joint replacement, spine surgery, arthroscopy and sports medicine, trauma, pediatric orthopedics. So all these subspecialty will have a different departments because it's a dedicated orthopedic center. So your strategy definitely include accordingly all the departments, the specialist doctors availability in your team, and what are their requirement in terms of equipment and infrastructure, that you need to include in your strategy. Second aspect, same here, location strategy should be there, because if you are planning a trauma, then your location could be accordingly. And execution strategy, again greenfield and brownfield you need to define. And if you plan for a greenfield and your strategy, for example for the orthopedic specialty center, trauma and indoor and ICU could be in your phase 1. Your phase 1 should include the trauma facilities, few of your indoor facilities and few beds of ICU. You cannot include your 50% of ICU beds in a phase 1. You can operationalize it because emergency and trauma things you need to have ICU backup. And if your complete hospital plan includes 2 operation theater, you can, in a phase 1, you can operationally, you can go with 1 or 2 operation theater and few of the indoor beds. So for example, if you are planning for 100 bedded orthopedic specialty center, you can plan like 3 to 4 beds of trauma and emergency, 5 to 6 beds of ICU, and 20 beds of indoor. So roughly around, you can operationalize your phase 1 with 30% of bed occupancy in a phase 1, like around 30 beds total of you can plan in your phase 1. And accordingly, as operationally and financially you gain more patients, the services, and then likewise you can in a phase 2, phase 3, you can include different departments and operationalize accordingly. Now in a case 3, we will discuss strategy versus planning in a 100 bedded hospital project. So 100 bedded multi-speciality hospital project, in a phase 1 you can plan 5 OPDs, operation with 1 operation theater, and inpatient of 40 beds total, wherein you can define in a phase 1 you can include 20 beds of general ward, 10 twin sharing, and 5 special rooms, and 5 beds of ICU. That could be around 40% of your beds in a phase 1 strategy. You can include diagnostic. You can choose whether, if you have a good financial backup and you come up with in-house pathology and radiology, you can include. But in a high-end equipment, like in a phase 1 in radiology, you can include X-ray and sonography, which is usually the super specialist and specialist doctors need frequently. In pathology, it is better if you can include in a phase 1, so that you get the pathology reports as you are operationalizing 5 OPDs. So your 5 specialist doctors will be seeing the patients daily, and you need a pathology in house. So this could be your strategy. Now, as per this particular strategy, how will you plan different tasks? So in a phase 1, definitely your phase 1 will include the building construction of a major part in your phase 1, because though you are planning different department and other areas operationally in a phase 2, but your construction should be complete in a phase 1, because while in a phase 1 you have already operationalized 1 operation theater, few ICU beds, and indoor you have already operationalized. So in that particular ongoing hospital operations, it is very difficult to manage the building in construction work. So as much as you need to complete your building construction work, and for the equipment and furniture, you can plan that in your phase 1 you have decided particular facilities. Accordingly, you plan for furniture and equipment on that particular phase 1 of services only. You can plan operation table, OT lights, other equipments in operation theater for 1 operation theater only for your phase 1. ICU also equipments as per the 5 beds only, and as the patient beds, you will need 40 beds in your phase 1. So your equipment could be, your task for purchasing of number of beds, rather than going for the entire all the 100 beds, you can go for 40 beds. It will cost down your initial budget also. And manpower planning should be for your 40 beds, which is your phase 1 things. And you should also plan your launching task. Well, how will you launch, and the inauguration ceremony, etc. That also is your planning part should include. Now every task should have a realistic timeline in your planning phase. So if you are planning for a building construction, your plan different tasks like floor wise and the complete compound and the campus planning of your construction work. It should be realistic and in coordination with the other team who are planning for equipment purchase and furniture designing and all. So that coordination should be realistic. So because unrealistic deadlines will mess up all these teams who are working in a different task. And you should involve stakeholders at the right time while you are planning for particular task. Like if you are planning your operation theater, your surgeon should be in loop that what things he need in operation theater, which type of lights, which type of operation table, and different for include anesthetics for the anesthesia trolley. So this is the one of the example where you need to include stakeholders in that particular task. Now in your hospital strategy, one side from my side, what we have observed that every hospital project is always start with the patient services in a core focus, right? Once it is operationalized, fully operationalized, all your phase 1, 2 and 3 strategies has been executed. Now it's time to think how to transform your hospital into an institution, because any of the strategy to upgrade your hospital towards institution, you need to think about it. And while being a strategist, it should be included in your strategy document also, because it should moving towards the institution. It's a long-term sustainable hospital operations. Why to think about to be an institution? Because it will give you a continuous learning process in your hospital, will create an environment for the academics, for the new skill development, knowledge upgradation of your team, and which will ultimately give you a good clinical outcome and patient satisfaction also. And yes, definitely it will smoothen your hospital operations. So now in this hospital strategy, what things you need to consider? Implementation of standard processes, continuous training and development attitude, initiate academic activities like CME, workshop, seminar for the doctors, for the nursing staffs, for the technicians. And yes, at one particular level, you need to be think about the fellowships, diploma or certificate courses for different healthcare professionals like doctors, nurses, technicians. You can start that particular courses. It will create a very good academic environment, and the among the team also it will be create sharing the knowledge and skills to among the peers, among their colleagues and other professionals will be a very good practice. So that's all for this topic. If you like our content, please like, share and subscribe if you have not yet subscribed the DocThub channel, because we are coming up with all these 20 roles as a hospital leader with a separate video. And if you have missed our role 1 as a planner, you can click on right side of video, and the role 2, if you have missed as a policy maker, what should be things you need to know, you can click on left side of video. And thank you very much for joining with us.